Welcome to the Augmentation of Man with Kent and Renee Miller, where we are bringing somewhat of the future in our videos. And we're going to be talking about the new gamma species.
That we are going to become.
Oh, we are going to become the new gamma species eventually. So, and what does that mean?
Yes, and this is information that we received from our spiritual guides, the ancients. And so we had to ask, what is a gamma species? What does that look like if we are going to becoming a gamma species? What does that mean? And the response was, you'll see.
Yeah, that's quite a response.
But there's more to it.
But there's a lot more that they don't want to tell us because we're not ready for them to be told what this entails.
So
we're not ready to accept what this entails.
Yes. Everything that we learn is in steps, small steps. And we always want to jump forward in our learning and abilities when we're not ready for it.
When I'm in the first grade, I want to know the results of my test in the 12th grade before I even get there.
So what happened was sometime after we were told that we were going to become a gamma species, we had been reading a newsletter about Earth changes. And back in 2010, I'm assuming it was astrophysicists. I don't remember the details, but we have to say astronomers at least, or astrophysicists, identified this stream of cosmic rays coming from our galactic center. And they actually published that. It started coming out, filtering out through like this newsletter that we read in 2013. So we went to our guides and we asked about that, and it actually correlates to our becoming a gamma species. So in these cosmic rays, there are gamma rays, and those gamma rays are, are being caught up in the electromagnetic field around Earth. And when that field is disturbed, it showers down on us and everything.
Showers down on all of Earth. And it forces, if it's small particles at a time, it forces the human being into a change to change the DNA very slowly. If you get too much gamma particles into your system, it can cause serious illness.
So the gamma particles can penetrate our physical bodies, and this is a radiation. And it is created by a number of things. The sun generates gamma rays, supernovas.
Some are coming in from middle of Milky Way. I mean, yeah, coming from different areas.
The galaxy. Yeah. And uranium, things like, uranium as they're decaying let off gamma radiation. So this is gamma radiation that we're talking about. And so we really want to monitor the amount of exposure that we have outside and keep it down when we're having things like solar flares, things that are disturbing the electromagnetic field, because that's going to be a period of time when these gamma rays are showering down at a much greater amount, and our exposure really goes up. If we're outside, it's going to be probably a little bit more than if we're inside, even though they penetrate through windows and everything.
Yeah.
We look at spaceweather.com. So we get the proton count and the neutron count from spaceweather.com. It'll also tell you where, when we're having the solar wind or disturbance in the electromagnetic field, that is measured by something called the KP index, which is also on spaceweather.com. So when that goes up, you have a lot of electromagnetic fluctuation in the field. So when we
gamma rays are coming in the electromagnetic field, are caught by the electromagnetic field, and it's coming in from various places throughout the universe. Okay, but does that change the electromagnetic field?
the gamma rays,
Does
it
the
is
gamma-
an electromagnetic radiation. So I would say somehow there's some sort of interaction with the electromagnetic field. So we had to ask about this article and what this meant with these cosmic rays coming in, and what their answer was. And I'm going to quote this: "Hear the wind, a change in who you are, magnitudinal increase in your true self." So we're talking about the higher self, who you are at the soul level. So a magnitudinal increase in your true self, some good, some bad. So some people were leaning more toward, a more conscious side, and some are leaning more toward a not so conscious side. Lay out the magnitudinal lines. So these are the magnetic lines. Move the coordinates. So evidently what you're saying is that it has the ability to move the electromagnetic field.
Right.
Okay. And gives way to a new beginning. Isotopes will yield the cause, bringing all together as a force, the new beginning. So the isotopes have to do with radioactive matter, but also other matter.
Yeah.
So it's not isolated to only radioactive matter. It's a variance in the number of protons in the nucleus of certain chemicals. So these isotopes will bring all of us together as a force and into a new beginning. They say many people will hurt and they will push against this change, and but it will bring about a change in human cause. And in our experience, human cause is probably relating to our desire to learn.
Right. So the gamma rays actually decay and become radiation. It decays.
It comes off of decaying uranium.
So it can penetrate deep into our bodies, which can cause a change in our body DNA and the body itself, which can cause illness, etc. That things that aren't projected as a good thing for the body.
Right. So it's all in the level of exposure that we're getting. And so this
change the DNA. Then what it does, it changes the DNA on a slow process. It's like hurricane sitting in the Gulf and decide just to sit there and go 2 miles per hour as compared to a hurricane that goes 15 miles per hour. So it just takes a longer period for this to change the substructure of the DNA and changing our genetics.
And how we are physically being expressed.
And they said, this opening of the freedocs.
So we had this discussion before we sat down to do this video. And I said, do you remember what freedocs is? And he sat there very quietly. And I knew he didn't remember. But then he said, I'll just tune in. And so he started receiving a whole lesson on it. And so originally we were given the word freedox, and that's actually what is printed in the book, The Acquiescence of Humanity. So this lesson is coming out of this book, and this is available
Which is our
on
second
Amazon.
book. Mhm.
Yes. And so freedox is the word that's printed in the book and what we have been using. However, the guide that we had tonight said it is an expression of an interpretation. So if you want to get the visual, just imagine freeing up a dock or port. So this is what we're talking about, is within the DNA, an opening occurs, and that allows us to be able to channel more energy. And so when that happens, then we have an increase in abilities and an increase in communication that can happen. So with that communication, that comes, that is bringing to us a higher level of understanding. So more information and more wisdom is coming our way.
And this affects different people in different ways. Depending on their exposure.
Yes.
How much exposure.
And it also is not going to affect everybody. So there's a fair amount of people who are resisting the change. I think that from our other information that we've gotten, that this is one of the factors that limits one's ability for this to be actually turned on. So these freedox lie within the nanoparticles of the DNA. And when they're opened, it creates an opening where we can awaken to our true self, the higher self.
Do animals have this higher self? No.
I don't think that animals have a higher self.
We have not asked that question, but we don't think that they can go to a higher vibrational level, even though there are many animals that are very intelligent and can logically put things together.
They're created with their own intelligence based on their own physiology and their own physical bodies. But we were told that animals were not meant to evolve like humans are meant to evolve as it relates to our evolving consciousness. So when this freedox opens up for some people, that they have said a creative influence is possible when this opening occurs. Now, when we think of creative influence, what's your thoughts?
Well, a creative influence is the creator made a specific type of entity, and it is influential within its sphere, not outside its parameters.
So these are entities that work on behalf of the creator, carrying out or manifesting the creator's plans.
That's part of it, yes.
Okay. And so it's possible that there may be a creative entity on, helping with this, and that there may be some sort of event that happens. But it sounds like the way it was delivered that it's not something that's going to happen 100% of the time. And so this opening allows a constant flow of energy to take place, and it can occur at any time, dictated by outside sources, which would be this incoming gamma rays.
Yeah, does the opening of the freedox create various paths? And it says it can, because there are quadrants within the understanding interpretation. So within this interpretation, there are 4 quadrants to reach that level of understanding. And it's relevant to the various events that happen within that quadrant. That's, if you can put that more simpler terms, people can understand. So
I think
various
each
choices.
quadrant of understanding relates to different aspects to at which we look at things.
Yeah, opening understanding gives you various choices on complete interpretation of the understanding. You understand that?
So as we gain greater and greater levels of understanding, then we have more and more choices that are presented to us. And so it opens up quantum pathways, meaning many pathways. And so when these free docs open and we start to have this continuous channel of energy coursing its way through our bodies, and it's bringing an intellectual understanding to us.
Well, that causes behavioral change.
It causes behavioral change because we understand. Usually we act out in negative ways when we don't understand. When we understand, our behavior changes to a positive.
To a discussion of that particular event rather than a negative rather than a negative acting out.
Yes.
We don't understand.
Or being confrontational about, what somebody is saying. So when we have this informational energy coming in, that we're channeling this energy and this information, we're raising our level of understanding. In that, we're raising our vibration, and that opens up more pathways from which we can choose.
Well, the word free doc, they told us, is an associative word. And the interruption of the interpretation presents a challenge to the understanding of the word free docs.
Yeah, and I think the way I understand it at the present moment is that free docs itself is a description of what is happening, not necessarily the word or the term or the name for that part of the DNA helix. But if we don't see that connection, then it causes us to trip up with the understanding. So I think that when they say it's an interpretive expression, then, don't look at free docs as the name. Look at it as the visual
what
of
it stands for, what it actually stands for.
Yeah, its purpose.
Yeah.
And so the interesting changes coming to humanity, for sure. And we don't claim to completely understand this, but we are trying. So we thank you for joining. And
in case you wonder what this is, I was shaving too high. No, I'm just teasing.
Peace be with you on your journey to enlightenment.
Have a great week.
Please do sign up for, we will put this in your email inbox. If you go to our website and pan down to the bottom, sign up. We'll get you on our MailChimp email list, and you'll receive these automatically instead of having to go to YouTube or BitChute. You can get them in your inbox and not have to go through the extra steps.
Right, and we like discussion. We like discussion of these different topics. So please join us in our discussion. We'd like to hear from you.
Thank you for joining us. Take care now. Bye-bye.